So when we talk about D-Day and the Normandy landings, one of the most enduring images that comes to my mind, at least, is not from the movie reel footage taken on that day, but that opening few moments in the film Saving Private Ryan. I remember sitting there watching that in the cinema as a 15-year-old when it first came out, and being in absolute shock and awe of what I was witnessing. That scene is being replayed in my mind, and I know that's Hollywood and it's dramatized and it is fiction based closely on fact, but still it really does hold at the forefront of my mind. And this afternoon I am at Fox Green sector at Omaha Beach, Widerstandsnest 62, where the 1st Infantry Division came ashore. So here at Widerstandsnest 62, there were elements of the 352nd Infantry Division here for the Germans, and it was a landing site for the US 1st Infantry Division. Here there were only a handful of men. Read different accounts, but anywhere between sort of mid-20s to just over 30 men were occupying this position. There were 2 75mm guns, 1 mortar, and then a variety of machine guns. And it's incredible when you look at the defences to see that they could hold off a invading force, and with all the power and weight that the Allies could muster for as long as they did. But one of the really interesting things about this area and the defences that still remain is that they're still so visible, which is, I just think, really cool. The trenches used by the soldiers to move from positions can still be seen in the land, and then a lot of the big casemates are still visible, as well as some of the smaller concrete fighting positions that the Germans made here. And then there's the view, which would make this place magnificent even if it wasn't for the events that took place here 78 years ago. So as the 16th Infantry Regiment of the 1st Infantry Division came ashore here, they had got mixed up due to the strong tidal currents, and it had pushed their designated landing zones all out of joint. So the plan for the troops of the 1st Infantry Division was a bold one. They were to capture the villages of Colville, Vierville and Saint Laurent, then push south and cut the Bayeux Iceni road, attack toward Treviers, and also try and link up with troops from Gold Beach. So it's clear from this point of view, from the view that soldiers of the 16th Regiment of the 1st Infantry Division would have had on D-Day, when their ramps came down and they managed to make it so far up the beach toward the seawall and to try and get some cover from the defensive fire of the German guns up on the bluffs. Now those cliffs are about 30 meters high, and I cannot imagine the sheer effort it must have taken to not only overcome the enemy fire, but after days on board a landing craft, to then have to, with very little sleep, to then have to storm this place under fire. You're scared, you don't really know what's going on because the situation is just too big for you to process at that time, and yet you've still got to get ashore, you've got to help yourself get ashore, you've got to get your buddies ashore, and you've got to take the fight to the enemy. The strength of mind and the physical strength that was required that day is, I find, always completely staggering every time I stand on this beach, and to see it under these sort of overcast conditions as well, similar to what the guys would have experienced that morning on June 6, is just incredible. So this memorial here is a very poignant reminder to anybody who visits Omaha Beach about the sheer human cost that was involved here on D-Day. This area just here was used as the first casualty collection point by the medics who landed with the assault troops, and clearly their heroism and gallantry under fire to go and rescue their brothers in arms, bring them here and start tending to their wounds is just an incredible feat of courage. And I think the medics can often get overlooked for the more gung-ho aspect of what combat was in World War II. However, their actions going into battle unarmed far outweigh anything that I personally think I would be capable of. So it's always wonderful to see the memorials to the medics and their actions under fire. So by the evening of D-Day, the troops from the 29th Infantry Division, who landed further to the west on Omaha Beach, and the troops from the 1st Infantry Division, who landed here in the eastern sector of the beach, had secured some of their objectives. The villages of Colville, Vierville and Saint Laurent were in US hands. The wider objectives that had been set to push south, cut the Bayeux-Iceny road, attack toward Treviers and try and link up with the troops from Gold Beach didn't happen, but they did have a toehold. They had secured enough ground. Thousands of US troops were flooding ashore. The 352nd Infantry Division, from the German perspective, had taken 1,200 casualties and lost about 20% of its combat strength. Much past this point, it was rendered fairly ineffective, and its resistance after that was, whilst tough in places, largely it was ground down after the 6th of June. However, the cost had been high for the American forces. Between the 29th Infantry Division further down the beach and the soldiers from the 1st Infantry Division, the number of dead was a staggering 2,400. Plus all of those who were wounded, who would then go on to die in either hospital ships or back in the emergency hospitals set up in the UK. Their memory will not be forgotten, and it will remain for future generations, as long as we keep telling the next generation that comes along about those sacrifices and what they mean, and how important it is to remember the men who fell here on D-Day, and what those who continued inland and what they did for the liberation of Europe and to defeat an oppressive totalitarian regime. So, hope you enjoyed this little walk around Widerstandsnest 62 on the Fox Screen sector of Omaha Beach. As always, if you could just like, comment and subscribe. If you've got family members that you know served in the 1st Infantry Division or the 29th and they landed here at Omaha or fought further inland in Normandy, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. It's so important that we keep talking and we keep sharing these memories of what this generation did. Also, don't forget, tap the like bell, get notification of all World War II Wayfinder content as soon as it's released. Okay, so I will see you in the next one.